My name is Howard and I'm 63 years old. I spent my entire working life as a mechanic at the Ford plant in Detroit, Michigan. Jennifer and I raised 2 kids together, Ashley, who now lives in California with her family, and Robert, who settled down in Texas with his wife and 3 grandchildren. When I finally retired after 42 years of steady work, Jennifer and I decided it was time to take that dream vacation we'd been talking about for decades, a trip to the Grand Canyon in Arizona. Jennifer was absolutely thrilled about this idea. She had always been the planner in our relationship, though we rarely had the opportunity to travel during our younger years. Money was always tight, and between raising kids and keeping up with mortgage payments, vacation funds were usually redirected to more pressing needs. But now, with my pension and our savings, we could finally afford to do something special for ourselves. For the last 3 months before our trip, Jennifer spent hours every day on her laptop, researching the best hotels, restaurants, scenic viewpoints, and tourist attractions around the Grand Canyon. She printed out maps, made detailed itineraries, and even created a folder with restaurant reviews and hiking trail information. I was genuinely happy to see her so excited and engaged. After years of routine, me going to work, her managing the household, this felt like the beginning of a new chapter in our lives. We booked a room at a charming little hotel called Desert Rose Inn, about 20 minutes from the south rim of the Grand Canyon. Jennifer had found it online and fallen in love with the pictures of its adobe-style architecture, beautiful courtyard with a swimming pool, and the small restaurant that served southwestern cuisine. The reviews were excellent, and the price was reasonable. We reserved the room for 2 full weeks, longer than any vacation we'd ever taken. I was genuinely looking forward to this trip. After decades of rushed weekends and brief holidays, the idea of having 2 whole weeks with no schedule, no obligations, just Jennifer and me exploring one of America's natural wonders, felt like a gift. The drive from Michigan to Arizona took us 2 days. We stopped overnight in Oklahoma City, ate at a little diner that reminded us of places we used to go when we were dating back in the 1980s. Jennifer was in such good spirits, laughing at my old jokes, holding my hand across the dinner table. It felt like we were rediscovering each other after years of comfortable but routine married life. When we finally arrived at Desert Rose Inn, I had to admit Jennifer had made an excellent choice. The place was even more beautiful than the photos suggested. Red adobe walls, terracotta tile roofs, desert landscaping with cacti and colorful flowers. Our room was spacious and comfortable, with a private patio overlooking the courtyard pool area. The first day was absolutely perfect. We drove to the Grand Canyon and spent hours just standing at the rim, taking in the incredible views. The scale of it was overwhelming. Photos and postcards simply can't capture the immensity of that natural wonder. We walked along the rim trail, took dozens of pictures of each other with the canyon in the background, and had lunch at a little cafe with panoramic views of the red rock formations. Jennifer seemed more energetic and vibrant than I'd seen her in years. At 61, she was still a beautiful woman. Her hair had gone silver gray, but it suited her, and she kept herself in good shape with daily walks around our neighborhood back home. She was constantly pointing out interesting rock formations, reading aloud from the guidebook and chatting with other tourists. Her enthusiasm was infectious. That evening we had dinner at the hotel restaurant. The food was excellent. I had grilled salmon with desert spices, and Jennifer ordered the vegetarian pasta with local vegetables. We shared a bottle of wine, something we rarely did at home, and talked about our plans for the remaining 13 days. We wanted to take a helicopter tour, visit some of the Native American cultural sites, maybe drive to Sedona to see the famous red rocks there. The second morning, Jennifer woke up early as she always did. She'd been an early riser our entire marriage, while I preferred to sleep until 7 or 8. Around 6:30, she kissed me on the forehead and whispered that she was going for a walk around the hotel grounds to enjoy the cool morning air before the desert heat set in. The concierge told me yesterday that early morning is the best time to see the desert wildlife, she said quietly, trying not to wake me fully. I might see roadrunners or jackrabbits. I mumbled something sleepy and encouraging, and she slipped out of the room. I dozed for another hour or so, enjoying the luxury of having nowhere to be, nothing urgent to do. When I finally got up around 8 o'clock, Jennifer still wasn't back. I wasn't particularly concerned. She'd always enjoyed long walks, and the hotel grounds were quite extensive. I showered, got dressed, and decided to go find her so we could have breakfast together at the restaurant. The Desert Rose Inn was built around a central courtyard with the swimming pool as its focal point. There were several seating areas with tables and chairs scattered around the pool deck, some in the sun, others shaded by ramadas covered with desert vines. The restaurant opened onto this courtyard through large French doors. I walked around the pool area, checking the various seating nooks and pathways. I looked in the small fitness center and the gift shop. No Jennifer. Finally, I decided to check the restaurant in case she'd decided to get us a table for breakfast. The restaurant had both indoor seating and an outdoor terrace that extended along one side of the courtyard. As I walked onto the terrace, scanning the tables for my wife, I spotted her immediately. Jennifer was sitting at a corner table on the far side of the terrace, partially hidden by a large potted palm. She wasn't alone. Across from her sat a man I'd never seen before, tall, probably in his early 50s, with distinguished silver gray hair and wearing an expensive-looking cream-colored shirt. They were leaning toward each other across the small table, talking in low voices. That alone wouldn't have alarmed me. Jennifer was naturally friendly and often struck up conversations with strangers when we traveled. But something about their body language made me pause behind a pillar to observe more carefully. The man was holding Jennifer's hand. Not a casual, friendly gesture, but intimately, with both of his hands wrapped around hers. She was smiling at him with an expression I knew well, the soft, affectionate look she used to give me when we were newlyweds. Every few moments she would laugh quietly at something he said, that particular musical laugh that I'd fallen in love with 43 years ago. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. This wasn't a chance encounter with a friendly fellow tourist. These two people clearly knew each other well. Very well. I stood frozen behind that pillar for what felt like hours but was probably only 5 minutes. I watched as he raised her hand to his lips and kissed her knuckles. I watched as she reached across the table to brush something off his shirt collar. I watched them gaze into each other's eyes like lovers do. My legs felt unsteady. I managed to back away from the terrace without them noticing me, and I stumbled back to our room in a daze. I sat on the edge of the bed, my hands actually shaking, trying to process what I'd just witnessed. 43 years of marriage. We'd met when I was 20 and she was 18. We'd been together through everything, the struggles of young parenthood, financial difficulties, family illnesses, the death of both our parents. I'd never, not once in all those years, suspected that Jennifer might be unfaithful. She'd always been the perfect wife, mother, homemaker. Our friends often commented on what a solid couple we were, how lucky we were to still be so devoted to each other after all these years. Now, suddenly, I was seeing our recent past through a completely different lens. All those hours she'd spent on the computer researching our vacation. Her unusual excitement about this particular trip. Her insistence that we come to this specific hotel, when there were dozens of others in the area. Her new habit of taking long walks alone in the mornings, which had started about 6 months ago back home. 20 minutes later, Jennifer returned to our room, practically glowing with happiness. "Oh, you're awake. How did you sleep, honey?" She moved around the room with unusual energy, gathering her things for a shower. "I had the most wonderful walk. The desert is so beautiful in the morning light. I even saw a roadrunner, just like the concierge said I might." I stared at her, this woman I thought I knew completely, and realized I was looking at a stranger. "That's nice," I managed to say. "I was thinking we could have breakfast soon." "Perfect. I'll just shower quickly and we can go eat. I'm absolutely starving." As I listened to the water running in the bathroom, I tried to figure out what to do. Should I confront her immediately? Should I pretend I hadn't seen anything and try to gather more evidence? Should I pack up and demand we go home right away? But a part of me, the part that still couldn't quite believe what I'd witnessed, hoped I was wrong. Maybe it really was just a friendly conversation that looked more intimate than it actually was. Maybe I was reading too much into an innocent encounter. That hope died the next morning. Jennifer followed the exact same routine, early morning walk, while I was still sleeping. This time, I forced myself to get up 15 minutes after she left and went looking for her immediately. They were at the same corner table. This time, when I peered around the pillar, I saw him lean over and kiss her on the cheek as he was leaving. She touched the spot where he'd kissed her and smiled like a teenager with her first crush. I watched him walk away, tall, confident, well-dressed. He got into a silver BMW parked in the guest lot. I memorized the license plate without really knowing why. When Jennifer returned to the room, she had the same story: beautiful morning walk, saw some interesting desert plants, can't wait for breakfast. The lies came so easily to her. That might have been the most painful part, realizing that someone who'd shared my bed for 4 decades could deceive me so smoothly, so naturally. I spent that day in a fog of disbelief and growing anger. We did touristy things, visited a Native American cultural center, took a short hike on one of the easier trails, had lunch at a restaurant with a view of the canyon. Jennifer was her usual charming self, chatting with other tourists, taking pictures, exclaiming over the scenery. If I hadn't seen her with that man, I would have thought she was having the time of her life on our romantic getaway. But now I noticed things I'd missed before. How she kept checking her phone, claiming she was just checking the weather, or looking up information about that rock formation. How she seemed distracted during conversations, like part of her mind was somewhere else. How she'd started using a perfume I didn't recognize. That evening, as we were getting ready for bed, I decided to test her. "You know, I was thinking we might change our routine tomorrow," I said casually. "Maybe we could both get up early and take that morning walk together. You make it sound so peaceful." For just a fraction of a second, Jennifer looked panicked. Then she recovered quickly. "Oh well, I mean, of course we could do that. But you know how you hate getting up early, especially on vacation. And I really do enjoy having that quiet time to myself, just to think and appreciate nature. Maybe later in the week?" Another lie delivered with a loving smile. The third morning I was ready. I pretended to be sound asleep when Jennifer got up, waited until I heard the door close softly behind her, then quickly dressed and followed. This time, I positioned myself where I could hear some of their conversation. I crept close to their table, hiding behind a large decorative planter that gave me a clear view and audio. What I heard shattered what remained of my world. "Can't keep doing this much longer, Richard," Jennifer was saying in a low voice. "These secret meetings are getting harder to manage." "I know, darling, I know," he replied, stroking her hand. "But we agreed we needed more time to figure out how to handle the situation. Howard is starting to seem suspicious. Yesterday he suggested we take morning walks together." Richard, so that was his name, frowned. "That could complicate things." "He's not stupid, Richard. We've been married for over 40 years. He knows me better than anyone. What do you want to do?" Jennifer was quiet for a moment. "I think after this trip I'll have to make a decision. I can't keep living a double life." "You know how I feel about that," Richard said. "I want us to be together properly. No more sneaking around." "I know. It's complicated. The divorce, the kids, the financial arrangements. Howard has been a good husband in his way." I felt sick. They were calmly discussing the end of my marriage like it was a business transaction. "How long has this been going on?" Richard asked. "About 8 months now. Since we met at that conference in Chicago." 8 months. While I was working my final months at the plant, looking forward to retirement and our golden years together, Jennifer had been carrying on with another man for 8 months. "I never expected to feel this way again at my age," she continued. "When I met you, it was like waking up from a long sleep." Richard brought her hand to his lips again. "I feel the same way. We deserve to be happy, Jennifer." I'd heard enough. I crept back to our room, my heart pounding with rage and heartbreak. 8 months of lies. 8 months of planning this vacation as a cover for their affair. 8 months of sitting across the dinner table from me, asking about my day, pretending to be my devoted wife. I sat on the bed and tried to think rationally. I could confront them both right now. I could march out there 'cause a scene demand explanations. But what would that accomplish? Jennifer had already made it clear she was planning to leave me anyway. Or I could wait until we got home and file for divorce through a lawyer. But that would mean enduring the rest of this vacation, pretending I didn't know, watching her lie to me every single day. Neither option felt right. I wanted something more decisive. That's when the plan started forming in my mind. The fourth morning I was ready. I'd spent most of the previous night awake, thinking through every detail. When Jennifer announced her usual morning walk, I just nodded and said I'd see her at breakfast. After she left, I moved quickly. First, I gathered all our important documents, both our passports, driver's licenses, credit cards, the plane tickets for our return flight, our hotel reservation information, everything. I packed them all into my small travel bag. Next, I wrote a note on hotel letterhead. My husband Howard became ill suddenly and we had to leave for medical attention. Mrs. Jennifer Palmer will be staying to complete our reserved time. Please transfer the room to her name and provide any assistance she needs. Then I packed my clothes and toiletries, leaving Jennifer's things untouched. I wanted it to look like I'd left in a medical emergency. When Jennifer returned from her walk, I was lying on the bed, fully dressed, clutching my chest and breathing heavily. "Howard, what's wrong?" She rushed to my side, genuinely alarmed. "My chest," I gasped, making my voice weak and strained. "Started about 20 minutes ago. Getting worse?" Jennifer's face went white. "Should I call 911? Do you want to go to the hospital?" "No, no ambulance," I managed to say. "Don't want to make a scene, just help me get to the car. Drive me to urgent care?" Jennifer was in full crisis mode now, the devoted wife again. Okay, let me get our things together." No time, I whispered. Just help me to the car. We can come back for the luggage later if I'm okay. She helped me stand up, supporting most of my weight as we made our way slowly to the door. I was actually impressed with my own acting. Years of watching medical dramas were paying off. Wait, Jennifer said as we reached the door. Let me get our passports and insurance cards. In my bag, I wheezed, patting the travel bag I was carrying. Got them already? When the pain started, thought I might need them. We made it to the parking lot, Jennifer practically carrying me. Other hotel guests stared as we passed, whispering with concern. I felt almost guilty for alarming these innocent people, but my anger at Jennifer overrode any other feelings. I'll drive, Jennifer said, helping me into the passenger seat. Where's the nearest hospital? GPS, I said weakly, pointing to the navigation system. Jennifer started the car and began programming the GPS for the nearest medical facility. While she was distracted with that, I secretly slipped her phone out of her purse and powered it off. I couldn't risk her calling Richard to explain what was happening. Flagstaff Medical Center, she read from the GPS. 23 minutes. Hold on, honey, we'll get you help. As Jennifer drove, talking reassuringly to me about how everything would be fine, how the doctors would take good care of me, how she'd call the kids once we knew more, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered Richard's hands holding hers, remembered her laughing at his jokes, remembered her talking about making a decision about our marriage. When we were about halfway to Flagstaff, I told Jennifer I was feeling a little better, that maybe it wasn't as serious as I'd thought. She was relieved but insisted we continue to the hospital just to be safe. You pull into the emergency room in trance, I told her as we approached the medical center. I'll wait in the car while you go in and tell them what's happening. That way they can have everything ready when you bring me in. It was a reasonable request. Jennifer parked right in front of the emergency room entrance and hurried inside to alert the staff. The moment she disappeared through the automatic doors, I slid over to the driver's seat, put the car in gear and drove away. Through the rearview mirror, I watched Jennifer emerge from the hospital with 2 orderlies and a wheelchair, looking around in confusion for our car. I almost turned back. 43 years of marriage, 43 years of caring about her well-being, made it feel wrong to abandon her like this. But then I thought about Richard again and I kept driving. I had a full tank of gas and 18 hours of driving ahead of me. Jennifer had no phone, no money, no identification, and no way to get home. She did, however, have Richard. I was sure she'd figure something out. The drive back to Michigan gave me plenty of time to think. I thought about our wedding day, when Jennifer looked so beautiful in her grandmother's dress. I thought about holding our babies for the first time, buying our first house, family vacations when the kids were small. I thought about quiet evenings watching television together, working in the garden side by side, planning for retirement. Had any of it been real? Or had I been living with an illusion of happiness while Jennifer was secretly dissatisfied, looking for something more exciting, more romantic than our comfortable middle-aged marriage? Maybe I'd gotten too comfortable, taken her for granted. Maybe I'd stopped seeing her as a woman and started seeing her just as my wife, the mother of my children, my domestic partner. Maybe Richard offered her something I'd forgotten how to give: passion, adventure, the thrill of being desired. But 8 months of deception? 8 months of planning this vacation as cover for their affair? That wasn't the behavior of someone who was just confused or going through a midlife crisis. That was deliberate, calculated betrayal. By the time I reached our house in Detroit, I'd made my decision. I wasn't going to wait around for Jennifer to come home and explain. I wasn't going to give her the chance to talk her way out of this or promise to end the affair. I was done. The first thing I did was call our family lawyer, Glenn Morrison. Glenn had handled the legal work when we bought our house, written our wills, dealt with some minor issues over the years. He was about my age, semi-retired, but still took on simple cases for old clients. Howard, how's the vacation going? Jennifer seemed so excited about that Grand Canyon trip. That's what I need to talk to you about, Glenn. I need to file for divorce. There was a long pause. Jesus, Howard. What happened? I gave him the basic facts, that I'd discovered Jennifer was having an affair, that she was planning to leave me anyway, that I'd left her in Arizona to work things out with her boyfriend. You left her in Arizona with no money or identification? Glenn sounded incredulous. She's not helpless, Glenn. And she's not alone. Howard, I have to ask, are you sure about what you saw? Sometimes things aren't what they appear to be. I heard them talking about it, Glenn. Planning their future together. Discussing how to handle divorcing me. Another long pause. Okay, I believe you. But Howard, what you did, leaving her stranded, that's not going to look good in divorce proceedings. It could be seen as abandonment, maybe even elder abuse. I don't care how it looks. I don't want her money, I don't want alimony, I don't want to fight over assets. I just want out of this marriage as quickly as possible. If that's really what you want, we can probably work something out. Michigan is a no-fault divorce state, so we don't have to prove adultery or anything like that. If you're willing to split assets fairly and you don't want spousal support, draw up whatever papers you need to draw up. I'll sign whatever needs to be signed. Glenn agreed to start the paperwork immediately. He also advised me to change the locks on the house and to cancel any joint credit cards, which I did that same day. For 3 days I heard nothing from Jennifer. No phone calls, no emails, nothing. I wondered if she was still in Arizona with Richard, or if she'd found some other way to get home. I found myself checking the driveway compulsively, half expecting to see a taxi pull up with an enraged Jennifer ready to confront me. On the 4th day she called. "Howard." Her voice was cold, controlled. "We need to talk. I think we've said everything that needs to be said. You left me stranded in Arizona with no money, no identification, and no way to get home. Do you have any idea what I went through? I imagine Richard helped you figure something out." A long pause. "How long have you known? Does it matter?" "It matters to me. I saw you with him at the hotel. Multiple times. I heard you talking about leaving me." Another pause. "I never meant for you to find out like that." "How did you mean for me to find out, Jennifer? Were you planning to ask for a divorce when we got home? Or were you just going to keep lying indefinitely?" "It's complicated, Howard. My feelings for Richard don't change the fact that I care about you, that I'm grateful for the life we've built together." "Don't?" I cut her off. "Don't try to make this about caring or gratitude. You've been lying to me for 8 months. You used our vacation as cover to meet your boyfriend. You sat across from me at dinner every night, pretending to be my loving wife while you were planning to leave me. I was trying to figure out the best way to handle the situation. The best way would have been honesty. You could have told me you were unhappy. You could have asked for marriage counseling. You could have asked for a separation. Instead, you chose to sneak around and lie." I could hear her crying softly. Once upon a time, that sound would have broken my heart, made me want to comfort her, fix whatever was wrong. Now I felt nothing. "Where are you?" I asked. "I'm staying with my sister Karen in Phoenix until I can figure out what to do next." Jennifer's sister lived in Phoenix and had never particularly liked me. I was sure she was getting an earful about what a terrible husband I'd been, how I'd abandoned poor Jennifer in her time of need. "Glenn Morrison is handling the divorce," I said. "He'll be sending you papers soon. Howard, can we talk about this? Can't we try to work things out? 43 years of marriage doesn't have to end like this. You ended it 8 months ago, Jennifer. I'm just making it official." I hung up the phone. The divorce proceedings were surprisingly simple, mainly because I stuck to my decision not to fight over anything. We split our savings and retirement accounts 50-50. Jennifer got half the value of the house, which I bought out using part of my pension lump sum. She took her car, I kept mine. We divided the furniture and household items through lawyers. I didn't want to see her again in person. Our kids, Ashley and Robert, were shocked and bewildered. They kept calling, asking what had happened, begging us to try counseling to consider how this would affect the grandchildren. I gave them the basic facts, that their mother had been having an affair and wanted a divorce, but I didn't go into details about the deception or how I'd discovered it. Ashley was angry with me for leaving Jennifer in Arizona. "That was cruel, Dad. Whatever Mom did, she didn't deserve that." Robert was more understanding. "I can't believe Mom would cheat on you, Dad. You guys seem so happy together." "We weren't as happy as we appeared to be," I told him. "At least your mother wasn't." Jennifer moved back to Michigan but into an apartment across town. I heard through mutual friends that Richard had moved from wherever he'd been living to be near her. I didn't ask for details. The official divorce was finalized 4 months after I left Jennifer at that hospital in Flagstaff. 43 years of marriage, reduced to a stack of legal documents dividing up our assets and officially dissolving our partnership. I thought I'd feel relieved when it was over. Instead, I mostly felt empty. The house felt enormous with just me in it. I'd lived there for 30 years, but now every room reminded me of Jennifer. The kitchen where she'd cooked thousands of meals. The living room where we'd watch television together every evening. The bedroom where we'd shared a bed for decades. I considered selling the house and moving somewhere smaller, starting fresh. But at 63, starting over felt overwhelming. This was my home, whatever painful associations it now held. Instead, I began making small changes. I repainted the bedroom, bought new furniture for the living room, turned Jennifer's craft room into a home office. Slowly, the house started feeling less like a museum of my failed marriage and more like my own space. I also started reaching out to old friends I'd lost touch with over the years. During marriage, our social life had revolved around other couples, many of whom understandably felt awkward about staying in touch after the divorce. But I had some bachelor friends from my younger days, guys who'd remained single or gotten divorced themselves. We started getting together for poker games, going to baseball games, taking fishing trips. It wasn't the life I'd planned for my retirement, but it wasn't terrible either. About 6 months after the divorce was final, I ran into Jennifer at the grocery store. She looked older, more fragile than I remembered. Her hair was shorter and she'd lost weight. She was with a man I assumed was Richard, tall, silver-haired, well-dressed, just as I remembered from that morning at the hotel. "Hello, Howard," she said quietly. "Jennifer." We stood there awkwardly for a moment. Richard was examining packages of pasta with great concentration, obviously trying to give us some privacy. "How are you doing?" she asked. "I'm fine. You?" "Good." "I'm good." She gestured toward Richard. "Howard, this is Richard Stevens." "Richard, my former husband, Howard." Richard stepped forward and extended his hand. "Howard, I've heard a lot about you." I stared at his hand for a moment, then walked away without shaking it. I had no interest in exchanging pleasantries with the man who'd helped destroy my marriage. "Howard, wait," Jennifer called after me. But I kept walking. There was nothing left to say. That was 2 years ago. I still live alone in the house, still see my kids and grandchildren regularly, still play poker with my friends and take fishing trips. It's a quiet life, maybe a little lonely sometimes, but it's honest. No lies, no deception, no wondering what the person closest to me is really thinking. I heard through mutual acquaintances that Jennifer and Richard got married about a year after our divorce was final. I felt nothing when I heard that news, no anger, no jealousy, no sadness. Just indifference. Sometimes I wonder if I handled the situation correctly. Maybe I should have confronted Jennifer directly, given her a chance to explain, tried marriage counseling. Maybe I should have fought harder for our relationship instead of just walking away. But then I remember that morning at the hotel, listening to her and Richard plan their future together while discussing me like an inconvenient obstacle to be managed. I remember 8 months of lies, 8 months of deception while I was excitedly planning our retirement together. Some things can't be fixed, can't be forgiven, can't be forgotten. Trust, once broken completely, can't be rebuilt. At least I couldn't rebuild it. I'm 65 now, and I've accepted that this is probably how the rest of my life will look: quiet, solitary, but peaceful. It's not the ending I'd planned for my love story, but it's better than living a lie. Thank you for watching the video to the end. Maybe YouTube will no longer offer you my channel, so subscribe to it by clicking subscribe on the right under the video to receive new interesting stories. Also on the right of the video there is a playlist with other interesting stories that you can listen to, and you can also write in the comments what stories you would like to see on the channel.